We have reached the pinnacle of programming convenience with AI. I can now start programming at home, resume the session from a different computer, and I can program from anywhere I like, at a coffee shop, at a library, at a park, and not only that, I can continue my conversation on my phone and heck, even my smartwatch, using my voice. This is a lot to unpack, so let me just show you how this works. Hey, can you go work on outstanding tickets on Tube Planner?
I've got it moving. I picked up 2 planner tickets.
Now, let me explain what just happened. There are a few moving parts, but basically 2 essential key components. When I talk to my AI on my watch, it's through a messaging app called Telegram. I am talking to an AI bot that is living on my computer at home. It's running on something called Hermes Agent, and that is the first key. If you've never heard of Hermes Agent, it's essentially an alternative to OpenClaw. And if you don't know what that is, you can check out my video on it here. But don't worry, I'll cover the topic in this video. Now, Hermes is not actually doing the programming itself. It's delegating to Claude Code and Codex, but also not directly. And this is the second piece of the puzzle, and it's called Herdr. Herdr is an AI-first terminal multiplexer similar to tmux. I have a video on this as well, and you can check it out, but I'll also briefly go over it in this video. With Herdr, I can start a programming session directly in the terminal, just like how most people program with a coding harness. But with the added bonus that my Hermes agent can see and interact with everything that happens inside of Herdr. This means that I can leave Herdr running and just walk away. And perhaps, while grabbing a coffee at Starbucks, I can prompt my Hermes agent to act as an agent orchestrator and continue working on a piece of task. Now, clearly, this is the culmination of a few different softwares to create an awesome AI workflow. But don't worry, I'll walk you through every piece of it so that it's super easy to follow. Before we get started though, Hermes Agent and Herdr are without a doubt super useful just on their own. That said, I'll be showing you the superpower you'll gain when you combine the two. But first, I'll go over Hermes and Herdr individually so that you're up to speed. And finally, I'll show you the extra bits to make the system even more useful, which includes memory management for your agents, and also the ability to talk to them through audio. So without further ado, let's get started. In terms of the hardware needed, you can actually achieve most of the things I'll discuss here today with just a computer and a phone. But if you have 2 computers, it's actually way more fun. And here's why. If you have one computer, that will be the one sitting at home running 24/7, since for you to install and run Hermes Agent at all times, you need a device that's always running and connected to the internet. Naturally, this will be your workstation at home, and when you're out and about, you'd interact with this workstation through your phone. If you have a second computer, that's when things get more interesting. You'll have one computer doing all of the programming tasks, running Hermes Agent and Herdr at home, and the second computer, which in my case is a laptop, will go with you everywhere, and you can VPN into your network and resume your programming sessions as if you had never left. And this is an awesome experience. I can kick off a task, move on over to a coffee shop, resume my work, and that entire duration the AI would have been working. So you don't lose out on any progress, and this actually solves the workaround where people have been traveling with their laptops slightly ajar just so that they don't disrupt their AI agent working. As for the computer, you'll want something that is beefy enough to support programming, and you can use an old computer laying around, or you can rent a VPS or a virtual private server in the cloud. Unfortunately, setting up a second computer is a lot to cover in this video, so I'll skip it just to save time. That said, there are a ton of great tutorials out there teaching you how to set this up, so if you are insistent that I cover this, just do let me know in the comments and I'll think about it. But like I said, you will still get the main benefits of this setup that we are going to discuss with just a single computer and a phone. And the good news here is that Hermes Agent works on all operating systems, and Herdr is in a similar boat, although their Windows support is currently in preview mode, so that's coming soon. Moving on to Hermes Agent. You most likely have heard about OpenClaw And if you haven't, I have a video on it that you can check out. They were called Claudebot back in the day. And when I say that like an old AI fart, that really means only about a few months ago. But the core software hasn't really changed all this time, and so the video should still be relevant. And if you're not familiar with either of these softwares, what they essentially are is a gateway between you, an AI agent, and your computer. This AI agent runs on your computer, has total access to all its local files and apps, and you can communicate with it through most messaging platforms like Slack, WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, and what have you. Not only that, they support features through agentic tool calling, so things like browser control, programming, scheduled tasks, researching, and pretty much everything else. Now, for those of you who have seen my OpenClaw video, you might actually be wondering, why choose Hermes Agent over OpenClaw? Well, you can actually achieve the same result of remote development experience using either one. I've just been testing out Hermes Agent recently, and the project seems very promising, as it addresses some of the issues that I've been having with OpenClaw. So if you're trying out something new, I highly recommend you give Hermes Agent a try. Anyway, getting started with Hermes is super easy. Just go to their website, copy the install script, run it, and follow the onboarding wizard. You'll need either a paid subscription plan to an AI provider or an API key. Once you have that set up, you'll also need to set up a communication channel, and I recommend Telegram as it's the easiest to set up. And to do this, you'll need to install Telegram on your phone, find a contact called BotFather, run the create bot command, and once you're done, supply the bot token back to your Hermes onboarding wizard. Finally, you'll need to pair your phone to Hermes Agent. That way, Hermes knows that your phone is legit and that no random person on the internet won't have access to your computer through a Telegram bot. Once you're done pairing, you're good to go. You can start chatting with your bot and give it a personality. Let it do your grocery shopping, whatever you want. It's your AI assistant. So at this point, you can actually program with this bot by giving it access to your GitHub and your favorite CLI tools. And because this bot should be running 24/7, you can talk to it through your phone, you can ask it to do anything, anytime, any way you want it. The great appeal of Hermes and OpenClaw is that they learn your preferences as they work with you, and so they should simply get it over time. But there is another level, and this is thanks to Herdr, a terminal multiplexer for AI tools. Herdr is very similar to tmux, where you can create a long-running terminal session that you can split into multiple panes and run terminal apps inside of those panes. In addition, Herdr has integrations to your AI tools like Claude Code and Codex, so it can give you a little status update when things are done. But what's really interesting here is the agent orchestration feature of Herdr, where you can read the contents of a pane and interact with it through the Herdr CLI. So what I've done is give my Hermes agent a skill to use Herdr, and it will use Herdr for all things programming. And the result is fantastic. I can start programming on Herdr using Claude Code, and if I ever need to leave my workstation, Herdr keeps that coding session alive on my computer, and my Hermes agent has full visibility into it so it can continue work on my behalf. And this is why I mentioned having a second computer is so handy, since you can start things off on your laptop, close the lid, go to a coffee shop, and resume working from there by connecting back to your home network. And that also works in reverse. If you get your Hermes agent to work on things through Herdr, you can always get back home and resume the work that your Hermes agent started. You'll have the full conversation to get back to. Isn't that awesome? Oh, and before I forget, Herdr has a Git worktree feature built in, so your coding agents will spin up a fresh copy of your project before working on it. So you don't have to worry about multiple agents colliding on the same working directory, and that is just awesome. Herdr installation is just a single line of script on their website. If you want a deeper dive into Herdr, my video on Herdr goes more in depth on it. So in essence, what we're able to achieve is an on-the-go programming experience that wraps around how you already code by making your work available in any place at any time. The only thing left is making this experience even smoother with some quality of life upgrades, and those are the finishing touches. If I mention Notion, you'll likely think of the note-taking app, and you would be somewhat correct. Notion these days is more of an AI company than a note-taking platform, but that's a topic for a future video. For my use case, I use Notion as an AI memory bank. This was made possible because they recently released an official API that helps AI agents interact with their platform better. I keep all of my engineering tickets in an organized Notion database that my AI agents can access through the Notion CLI. I've given my agents specific instructions to understand how my Notion database is structured, so they know how to create, locate, and edit tickets. As a result, when my agents work on a ticket, they create progress reports directly on the ticket, which is handy for checking in on what was accomplished. So you might be wondering, why use Notion over something like GitHub Issues or Jira? And the reason for that is with Hermes Agent, I'm not always just working on engineering tickets. Sometimes I'm doing research, sometimes I'm brainstorming, or what have you. Notion is a generic enough platform to handle all of my use cases, whereas project management platforms tend to be more opinionated. Not only that, as Notion develops more and more AI features, it's becoming increasingly easier to use their platform, as I can use their AI agents to handle cleaning up my databases, running scheduled tasks, and other AI things. It's a surprisingly nice experience telling Notion AI to merge two database columns, and it just does it. I do want to mention that I'm not sponsored by Notion in any way whatsoever. I have just been a huge fan of their product for a long time. And finally, I highly recommend you configure audio for your Hermes agent. It's super handy just walking down the street, remembering something I forgot to do, and all I have to either jot it down or to start a research task is to just talk to my watch or my phone. To enable this, you'll need to provide Hermes with an audio transcription service, and I'm using the paid OpenAI Whisper service through an API key as it's fast and accurate. You can technically use your local machine too, but it does require a little bit of hardware and it takes a little bit longer. The cost of the API service is pretty reasonable though. A month of occasional use cost me only a few dollars. Not too bad. On the other side of audio, you'll need to provide Hermes with a way to convert text back to speech. Mind you, this part is optional, as some people don't like robot voices, but I've been using the default Bing service and it's been pretty good and it doesn't cost anything. In my experience, having what is essentially a voice note tool that can scrape the web, trigger a programming session, and more is so useful to have. And the possibilities are endless. Some people are hooking up their smart home systems to these agents. Anyway, that's all I have for this video. I've been having such a good time with my new AI workflow that I felt compelled to share this with you. I hope you found this insightful, and if you liked this video, please do hit that subscribe and like button. It really helps the channel out with the YouTube algorithm. In any case, I hope you have a great rest of your day and see you in the next one. Bye bye.